Hello, I'm Casey.
And I'm Fallon.
And this is Render the Darkness. And we are here with best-selling author Maxim Furek. And I'm going to run through a little bit of his background for you so you know who he is and what a great accomplishments that he's had in his life. And there's a lot. And so let's dive into it. Maxim's rich background includes aspects of psychology, addiction, music journalism, and the paranormal, which is what we're here to talk about today. He has a master's degree in communication from Bloomsburg University and a bachelor's degree in psychology from, I hope I say this right, Aquinas College. Did I say that right?
Aquinas
College.
Thomas Aquinas, yeah.
Okay. He's interviewed celebrity demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren, which we will also be getting into today, and a white witch Dr. Frederick Lamont Santi. He was featured on Coast to Coast with George Noory, Exploring the Bizarre with legendary Timothy Green Beckley and Tim R. Swartz, and Arts Bell's Midnight in the Desert with Heather Wade. He is a respected contributor to Fate Magazine, Paranormal Underground, and Strange Knocks, showcasing his expertise and knowledge in the field. He was the invited guest speaker at the 2025 Butler Paranormal Conference and the ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Expo. When we have interviewed him before on The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, which was a fantastic book. If you have not read it and you do not have it, you should go get it right now because it's incredible, as well as The Smurl Haunting is just what we're going to be interviewing him about today.
Both awesome books.
Absolutely. How are you tonight?
Great. Thank you, Casey and Fallon. I really appreciate the return invite to Render the Darkness. And, you guys did such a good job the first time around with The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot. I can't thank you enough. There were a lot of compliments and, we sold a couple of books from that. And, it's so important for us authors to be able to go and, reach potential readers and just, to share our research and our books. So thank you so much for the service that you give guys like me. So I can't thank you enough for that.
Well, thank you very much for your kind words. And thank you again for coming on the show because we really appreciate that a lot.
Very, very muchly.
Okay.
So let's get into what we're here to talk about, which is your book. I'm going to show it right here.
Show it.
The Smurl Haunting. For any of you who have not gotten it, please go get it. It's a great read, very informative, lots of information, and we're going to talk about some of that information right now. All right. First of all, can you tell us about the Conjuring movie franchise and its association to the book?
Yeah, the Conjuring franchise, I'm sure a lot of you readers know, or your listeners know that it's the most successful horror franchise in history. There's 9 motion pictures, the last, which was Conjuring Last Rites, which is about the Smurl haunting of all things, my book. But 9 motion pictures worth a total of $2.7 billion net. That's not gross, that's net. That's hard money. That's cold cash. So it tells us something. And well, let me give it to you. Why do you suppose the Conjuring franchise is so successful, or is the most successful horror franchise? What is it about resonates with, I guess, people like you and your listeners? What do you think the kick is there?
Well, I was just going to say because it's creepy and it kind of gets you in that weird, like something could be in the room with you type thing.
Yeah.
I think there's a certain psychology behind it. I think that people are innately interested in things they don't understand, or a vast majority of people, at least. Some people are scared of it, but the vast majority are intrigued by it. And these movies help bring out that curiosity, and it helps give them at least some answers in some kind of a direction to have a mindset on it.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Yeah, it's we're fascinated by the occult. We've had a whole bunch of motion pictures like Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, the Omen. I mean, just a whole bunch of them that talk about the demonic forces, the demonic realm, and people are interested in that. And then when you take a look at some of the Catholic cases, case book studies of exorcism, wait, there's something going on here. Now, it's not 100% it's 2%. And in my book, I have a chapter called The 2%, and I talk about Father Amorth. He was the Vatican's chief exorcist. He did thousands of exorcisms, but he claimed that only 2% of these are legitimate. These are people that are actually possessed by demonic energies. The rest of them, the 98% of them, are it's some form of mental illness, whether it's schizophrenia, Tourette's syndrome, bipolar illness, hallucinations. I mean, who knows? It's something, maybe drug-induced psychosis. I don't know. I mean, it could be a whole lot of things, but it's not demonic possession. The church, the Vatican, needs to make sure that when they, deal with these individuals, that it's an example. It's a case of demonic infestation or demonic possession, and we know through literature and through the accounts of exorcists that a person who is possessed, typically has things like they will have superhuman strength. They will know intimate secrets about the people that are in the room, the people that are doing the exorcism. They may be able to levitate. They speak in foreign languages that they have no business knowing. I mean, there's no way that they can know, but yet they're speaking like ancient Arabic or some or Persian or just some really strange obscure language, but and speaking it fluently. So those are the things that that we've seen, and that's it's the common denominator of people that have been possessed. I talk about in the book, in the Smurl haunting, about the one case in Germany where they didn't get it right, and the woman's name was Annalise. They thought she was possessed, and they did an exorcism, and here she died. So the German courts brought to trial the two priests that did the exorcisms, plural, and also Annalise's parents. And they were found guilty of, I don't know if it was accidental homicide or, second degree or whatever it was. But I mean, they were convicted of her death. And because of that, because they got it wrong, the country of Germany no longer allows exorcisms to be held, legally. And if they're held, it's like under the radar, but they're not allowed to do that. So my book takes a deep dive into these aspects, and I say up front, when I do my programs and my seminars, I say, listen, there's a centuries-old debate on whether or not evil exists and the devil exists. And if you believe that, then fine, my book takes you on that pathway, and we take a look at things like that. And if you don't believe in that, that's fine too. I'm not trying to convince anybody over to my side. I don't, I mean, I do care, but I don't care. So you believe what you want to believe, but many people, professional people, not just Catholic priests, but just a lot of professionals believe that in the existence of evil. And the other side believes that it's just a fairy tale, that it's a folklore, that it was something that maybe our parents or the church told us to keep us in line. Like, if you don't say your prayers, the devil's going to get you. If you don't go to church, you're going to go to hell, or whatever horrible thing they put in our heads as kids. I mean, so a lot of people think that believing in the devil is old school, that it's that it was just used to keep us in control, a way to use fear to control us. But other people say no, the devil exists, in the 21st century, and there a lot of people have said that. And I talk in the book in the chapter called The Apostles of Exorcism. And I apologize for just going on and on and on. I guess I should stop talking. That's questions. That's the way this should go, right?
Absolutely. That's why we're here.
One of you have to say, "Shut up! Stop talking." Okay, we got a question.
So you're fine.
You're
fine. So there was a Pope John Paul II, who was an exorcist, and he put together a college of exorcism where there were priests, I think 132 priests from 30 different countries that came, I believe it was outside of Rome, to learn this medieval rite of exorcism, only because Pope John Paul II believed in the existence of evil. And then he also updated the rite of exorcism, rite, R-I-T-E, the rite of exorcism, after, because it was 400 years old, but he did an upgrade for the 21st century. So, we believe it's still, evil's out there, that there's a certain progression of temptation, infestation, and then possession. It could happen through things like a curse. Somebody could have put a curse on you. You could get into the other side, the dark side, through things like Ouija boards, tarot cards, fortune tellers, things like that, seances. Some of these people that are naive and foolish that go into the prisons and mental institutions that have been shut down looking for something. There may be ghosts, there may be spirits, there may be demons lurking there. Please be careful and know what you're doing and go with other people. And, there's ways to do this, in a safe way. But I was, this year I was in Butler, Pennsylvania. I was invited to the Butler Paranormal Conference, and the Psychic Vincent sisters were there, on the bill with me, and they were giving their presentation. There was a guy there. He was a solitary ghost hunter, and here he was attacked. There was an attachment, a demonic attachment that ripped up his chest. His eyeball was just hanging there, and I saw these pictures on his phone. They were gross. This was pretty serious stuff. So he stopped doing that, but he was looking. If you go into these places looking for a spirit, on a good day or on a good night, you're going to find something. So be careful. And I know some people believe in Ouija boards, but I think most people don't know about them, and they're naive, and they're just looking for whatever is going to show up, as opposed to people that know how to use a Ouija board and maybe contacting a specific spirit for directions, for knowledge, for whatever, but most of us don't know how to do that. And for most of us, it's sort of like a crapshoot. You don't know what's going to manifest. It could be a confused spirit, or it could be a malevolent demon looking to go for an attachment or for a possession. So, I think the world of demonology is real, and it's serious, and people do get hurt. So I'm just offering a warning here. And that's what I think my book does too. My book talks about that a lot. So.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree that it definitely exists, and I also agree that people should, heed with caution forward if you're going to choose to dabble in anything paranormal for any reason. You should be very cautious on what you're doing, because you never know what door you're opening,
right? Exactly.
And what's going to come out of it. So.
Yeah, the Psychic Vincent sisters were Suzanne and Jean. They were saying that when that happens, you got to get out the holy water. You got to just go take a bath in it. Just there's not much else you could do. Get the crucifix and the holy water. So I don't know. Or sage is supposed to be good for what? For cleansing and for chasing away the demons, right?
Yes, absolutely. Sir. We use that pretty often. We use sage.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And there's a way too to keep yourself centered and positive and filled with positive energy and that positivity. So that's the other thing too. I think that we all we need to do that. Just for our own safety. So
absolutely.
Okay, so the next question we have for you is, can you describe the significance of Ed and Lorraine Warren's career?
Yeah, like I mentioned, I think I mentioned this. I had met Ed and Lorraine in 1988. They were on a 15-city book tour for a book called The Haunted. And this was about the West Pittston infestation. This is the book that I wrote the Smurl haunting about. So this came out in 1988, and it kind of came out too early because there were a lot of things that happened after 1988, like Father Treble, the priest, the exorcist that cleansed the house. And he was the real hero of the Smurl haunting, but that wasn't in the book. It's in my book, but it wasn't in the Haunted. But anyway, I met them in 1988 and interviewed them, took pictures and all that, and stayed in touch with Ed and Lorraine. Lorraine was an animal lover. She had a pet rooster called Einstein, and I would call Ed up just to ask him questions, and you could hear Einstein in the background, the rooster. So that was kind of cool. But I kept in touch with them over the years, and they were very gracious. They were nice people. They treated me respectfully. And Ed and Lorraine Warren were pioneers and ambassadors of demonology. I mean, they were there to instruct us. They did close to 1,000 seminars at colleges. And one of the criticisms of them was that they were successful. They made money, but they were making $5,000 an appearance. So they were making, close to 1,000 appearances. So, they did well, but I mean, they worked hard at it, and they were probably some of the first ones. And they investigated Amityville and the Smurl house and the Wells house and just so many of them. And, so their success, their significance, Ed and Lorraine Warren were significant to the realm of demonology, just as Sybil Leek was significant to the realm of witchcraft. And Sybil Leek was the one who, after Great Britain repealed the Witch Act, I guess you could be, put to death or imprisoned for practicing witchcraft. But after they repealed that, Sybil Leek wrote a book, and then it let people know that they could practice paganism or the Wicca craft, and it was okay. And it was just another way of worshiping your God or your higher power. So, but Sybil Leek was also important. So I could see a parallel between Ed and Lorraine and Sybil. So, I talk about that a bit in the book.
Another thing that you talk about in the book, and you just mentioned it for a second there, was the Wells house. I had a question about that. You mentioned in the book Walter Bennett's accounts of the events that took place in the house.
Yeah.
And you mentioned there were two different incidences where their daughter had fallen down the stairs and actually floated to the bottom.
Yeah.
Do you think that with that being something that happened, do you think that may possibly have it meant that there were good spirits in the house?
Good spirits.
As well as, because I know they were assumed demonic spirits in the house as well, but as I was reading it, in my interpretation, I thought, well, if they were demonic spirits, they would have just let her fall, but instead they helped her float to the bottom. So was there possibly good spirits battling bad spirits in that house? That's
an interesting way of looking at it. With the Wells house, and that took place in northeastern Pennsylvania, close to the Smurl haunting. They were very close. But the Wells house, the resident, the people that moved in there later, were the ones who they were hearing noises and everything. So the guy took the sledgehammer, smashed through the wall, and he found what he thought was a voodoo doll. He thought that a voodoo curse had been placed on the original owner. And so he found that, and he believes that that's what happened. But there were other things that happened, like with his daughter. And you're right, there might have been something going on there with good and bad forces. But you're the first one that has been able to go and look at it like that. Again, we look at what little facts we have, and then we try to figure it out and put it into categories and give it a hypothesis and say, this sort of makes sense. But a lot of these houses that have demonic infestation, there's similarities, whether it's the Wells house Smurl house, the Amityville horror. You have a typical thing, like you have knocks, you have this horrible smells, you have grunting sounds. In Amityville, they had the flies, they had the talking, I think it was a talking pig. With the Smurl haunting, the thing that made the Smurl haunting different than all the other ones was that it was the intensity of violence. And Jack Smurl claimed that he was raped by a female demon, a succubus. Janet Smurl claimed that she was molested by some sort of a demonic entity. I believe that the Smurls had a target on their back because they were Christians and they were Catholics. And I believe that of all the people in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, for some reason, these forces, the demon was after them. And I think that the devil delights in bringing down people who believe in the Lord, who have given their life over to the Lord, and the Smurls were like that. So, but I think that they were marked, and that's why I believe what happened in the Smurl haunting was more intense, more dramatic, more violent than any of these other haunted houses. Certainly, Amityville is the most recognized and well known. And you just take a look at all the motion pictures and books that were written about Amityville. But to this day, we cannot fathom how this would happen. This is like a modern day Cain and Abel story. It's a story right out of the Bible where Ronnie DeFeo, 23 years old, took a rifle and killed his mother, his father, his two sisters, and two brothers. We can't comprehend that. A 23-year-old kid who, by all standards, had it made. He was a rich kid, drove new cars, walked around with thousands of dollars in his pocket, but was also doing methamphetamine. He was also doing heroin. He was also prescribed Thorazine. So he was a pretty mixed up kid. The thing that I take a look at in the Smurl haunting when Ed and Lorraine came to town was the fact that Ronnie DeFeo claimed that it was a demon. He was possessed by a demon, and that's what made him kill his family. The prosecution, in a book called High Hopes, the prosecution had to prove that no, Ronnie DeFeo was not possessed by a demon, but he was a borderline personality disorder. He was a personality disorder who manifested an irregard. He had a lack of compassion for his fellow humans, and also he needed immediate gratification. So that is what made him tick. And in a court of law, that's what they proved. Now, can you imagine how that would have played out if the jury said, nope, he was possessed by a demon? I mean, the prosecution had to be on their game, but, just like Father Amorth said, you have to take a look at the mental illness versus the demonic possession. So it played out in the American court system. So this thing about demonology and Amityville and the Smurl house, it's like it's larger. The fabric is larger. The tapestry is larger than we may realize. So, but.
Well, I definitely appreciate your response on that one. I don't know why that got me curious. And when I was reading the book, I was stuck on that for probably 2 days when I was reading the book.
Yeah. You perceived that right. Yeah, that's interesting.
I kept telling her, I'm like, I can't wait for the interview because I'm going to ask him about this.
Yeah.
See what he thinks. You have a question? So you mentioned just now how you feel like the Amityville and the Smurl hauntings were different. How do you feel like they were the same?
Well, there's a lot of similarity with haunted houses. Like I said, the knocking sounds, the grunts, the smells, the rooms. This happens a lot where, like in the Smurl house, these rooms were working. They were hooked up to the furnace, and there was heating, pipes and everything. But there would be a couple of rooms where the temperatures would go like from 50 to 30 degrees, instead of the 70, whatever they wanted. So there was no reason for that, but it happened numerous times. And it happened when Ed and Lorraine Warren were there. Ed and Lorraine were at the Smurl house. I think it was 4 different times. And so they were able to determine that, that was happening. So that's pretty much, the haunted houses are kind of standard, what happens. I mean, you're going to get scared by, in the Smurl haunting, a television set exploded, brand new TV set exploded, a chandelier that they thought was perfectly stable and fixed to the ceiling fell down I think it almost hit Dawn Smurl. The dog, the German Shepherd Simon, was levitated and thrown across the room. And this is interesting. You talk about what happened at the Wells house, Casey, but in the Smurl house, Dawn Smurl claimed that she levitated the dog Simon and threw it across the thing. And that could have been what happened. It could have been demonic energies that did it. It could have been Dawn. But if it was Dawn, it was because she was demonstrating psychokinetic energies, something that's been that Stephen King has written about in Carrie and Firestarter and The Shining. Young people, adolescents, mainly female, that have these innate energies that they don't know how to control. And if this is true in the case of Dawn Smurl, then she somehow, not purposely, but she lifted up Simon and flung him across the wall. So again, we know about psychokinetic energies, and that's one theory that people have talked about. So we're not exactly sure, but we've narrowed it down to a couple. Just as as you pointed out about there could have been a battle at the Wells house. That so we don't know.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, earlier you were talking about whenever that you met Ed and Lorraine. Now, what were the circumstances behind that?
Yeah, they were in a place called Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. Very nice touristy place. You should visit it. You'll love it. They got a train and they got mansions there. And the one mansion, as a matter of fact, is called the Asa Packer Mansion. And the chandelier at that mansion was used in the movie Gone with the Wind. They patterned the chandelier in Gone with the Wind after this one here in Jim Thorpe. But anyway, it's there's a bloody handprint there from one of the Molly Maguires. They were Irish Catholic. They were called terrorists, but they were fighting in behalf of the coal miners. And they hung one of the Molly Maguires, and there's his handprint there at the jail. He says that bloody handprint will remain there at the jail until I'm found innocent. And they try to paint over and everything else. It won't go away, So that's in Jim Thorpe. But Ed and Lorraine came to Jim Thorpe for did a series of presentations on their book, The Haunted. And I got permission to go there and interview them. I took all these photographs of them that are in my book, The Smurl Haunting, and kept in touch with them. And like I said, they were great people. Not everybody likes Ed and Lorraine. Some people think they were con artists and that they were exaggerating and that they were making too much money, and you know how that works. I mean, God forbid if Render the Darkness, was monetized and was making, thousands of dollars every 10 minutes, it
would be terrible.
Yeah.
When people are successful, I have what I call the universal law of 90. 30% of the people will love your light. They want to help you and open up doors. 30% are going to be jealous. They're not going to like you for whatever reason. Then 30% don't care. So that's just the way it is. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to salute you. And, and that's okay. That's okay. We don't need 90% or 100%. That's okay. All you need is, you just need one friend, you need one tribe, you just need a handful of people that have your back. That's all. I think when we were in high school, pardon?
The small, tight circle.
Exactly. Yeah. When we were in high school, we probably thought that, we wanted the whole class to love us and accept us and that. But, I know I talked to a classmate a while back, and he said that he wished that he could do it over again, and he would make more friends in high school. he would do it all over because he didn't, he was sort of a loner. And, you have one or two friends and maybe you carry them, they're your friends through a lifetime. I mean, that's precious. That's gold. Who has that? You just need just one friend, So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, anyway, that's that. But, this whole, this whole thing. Anyway, with Ed and Lorraine Warren were successful, and and I thought that they were nice people.
Well, it's very, very cool that you were able to meet them and that y'all stayed in touch. That's
for sure. Yeah, until they died. Yeah. And someplace I have, I transcribed my cassettes, but I have cassette recordings of them, and I cannot find them. I can't find where they are, but they're, I'd love to go and maybe turn those over to somebody, just bequeath them to some paranormal library or museum or whatever, So I would definitely do that.
Yeah, that'd be
that
pretty
would
cool.
be really neat, actually.
Yeah, okay. Like we could send them down to Arkansas. Okay, yeah.
There you go. So I actually have kind of a selfish question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So I personally had never heard of the Shepton disaster until I read your book, and it really intrigued me because we go back to that things of the unknown. And you talked about how scientists had marked that as one of the proofs of life after death.
Right, yeah.
And I know that you also wrote about that as well. So could you maybe tell us just a little more about that? And also, would you be okay if I did a podcast episode on that? Because I don't want you to feel like I'm jumping on your bandwagon.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, look, these are great. I love doing I think, first of all, I think that, Casey and Fallon, you guys do a great job, and you're to be acknowledged for that. But in 9 years ago, 2016, I wrote a book called Shepton, the Myth, Miracle, and Music. And I was trying to put together the correlation between the song Timothy, which was about cannibalism in a mine, and the actual Shepton mine disaster of 1963. 3 guys were entombed for 2 weeks, only 2 came out. And they were celebrating this example of human survival after 2 years. It was one of the largest stories, international stories, according to the Associated Press, until the assassination of President Kennedy in November of 1963. And I know that because, I was in high school, being older than you guys. I was in high school, and President Kennedy was the one that we just loved, but that's when Shepton happened. But Shepton had examples of out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, and afterlife experiences. And that afterlife experience was Pope John the 23rd. He had died in June of 63. Shepton took place in August. He was dead when he appeared in the mine for 2 weeks, just standing there giving the sign of peace that you're going to be okay. That's what it was. He didn't talk to him. He didn't communicate. He gave them a sign. That was his MO. That was his modus operandi. At the other 2 miracles, medical miracles that he performed, one was a nun in Rome who was dying of some sort of stomach cancer, and he appeared there. All 3 of these miracles happened after he had died. And when I talked to Catholic brothers and priests and sisters about this, nuns, to a person, they say that what happened when he died, went to heaven, got his authority, got the power, and came down. He did not create those miracles. None of us humans can create miracles. Miracles are created by God, God's strength and energy, only through people that are deemed worthy, holy people, worthy people. So that's, how these miracles are supposed to work. But Pope John the 23rd, 3 miracles. And then what's interesting is that Pope John the 23rd, who's my hero in the Shepton mythology, was canonized by Pope Francis. It was Pope John the 23rd and Pope John Paul II, the exorcist, who had a dual canonization in 2014. So, it's sort of like almost like the, what do you call it? The 6 degrees of separation, that everybody's connected to somebody who's connected to somebody. I mean, we all know somebody, so we're all connected by that one person. So anyway, but yeah, that's the Shepton book is, so the Shepton book came out 9 years ago, and all of a sudden, boom, because of that book, I got invited to a paranormal conference in Boston, or in Baltimore. I was interviewed on the Australian Mysterious Universe, about the book. And then also there was another one, the Skeptical Inquirer, who debunk all these things. They had a really long piece about Shepton. And then the last thing they said to debunk it was that with using Occam's razor, that's, I believe, a medieval tool to find out what the truth is. They said by using Occam's razor, which is the most basic logical explanation, that what happened in Shepton had to be mind gas hallucinations and all that. And I wrote a letter saying, no, that's not true, because when you talk about themes of the paranormal, you can't boil them down into simplistic terms. It's not that, it's something else. It's not scientific, it's beyond science, it's paranormal. I mean, they gave me good ink, they gave me exposure, I sold tons of books because of that, but they were wrong. I mean, there was something of a supernatural element that happened at Shepton. I mean, numerous things. I mean, seeing the Pope, seeing humanoids, being able to see in blackness. I mean, these miners are crawling around on their hands and knees, getting bloody, sucking in coal and dust particles and dirt in total blackness. They did not think they were going to be rescued. I mean, they were pretty despondent, and then they were. But I mean, 2 weeks down there and all that hell. So that was my book, and that book got me into the paranormal. And I'll say this: I never went looking for the paranormal. I'm a rock journalist, and this, 2016, the paranormal just stalked me and hit me over the head, and so here I am. But I mean, I'm glad to be doing this, because this is great. I mean, paranormal people are just so awesome. They're very considerate. They listen to the possibilities, so it's a great group of people.
Well, thank you very much for telling us a little bit more about that. And that just made me want to deep dive into it even more. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we could do that. And yeah, I'd love to do that. Yeah, we could. Yeah.
Oh, and perfect.
Maybe we could look at 2026 for
there we go. Next interview in the books.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
You have any more questions?
Yeah, let's go back to Ed and Lorraine. Now, when y'all were talking, did they ever actually share any of their personal experiences with you about their demonic possessions or anything that they've seen?
Yeah, I would ask Ed how he did battle with these demonic forces and what he would do. And people need to think about this if they're going to go look into these haunted houses. But Ed Warren would invoke the cloak of Jesus Christ, of St. Michael the Archangel, of Padre Pio. And can you see that?
Oh,
yes, sir.
Padre Pio, holy water.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really neat.
Yeah. I got that in my office here. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Padre Pio. But he was the one who had stigmata. He was bleeding, and he bled the wounds of Christ. And the priest thought that he was faking it. They thought he was a con artist. They wrapped his wrist with gauze, waited, I think it was 6-7 days, unwrapped the gauze. They wanted to see scarring. They wanted to see signs that he was as human as me and you. And here he was still bleeding. So he's bled the wounds of Christ. It was called stigmata. That was one thing. The other thing Padre Pio did was he had this thing called bilocation. He was at two places at the same time. He was at an opera with all these priests and brothers seeing him, talking to him, and then he was like 100 miles away doing something else. Documented cases of him bilocation, being two places at the same time. So when Ed Warren would do battle, he would invoke the spirit of people like Padre Pio, who was just an incredible person. I mean, what he did. So he suffered those wounds. He was criticized for being a con artist by the Vatican and by fellow priests. And so he had to go and put up with all of this stuff. I mean, just like the Smurl family did. You know, the neighbors didn't believe that what the Smurls were going through was authentic. They thought that maybe they were doing this just to get money. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, in life, you know, you put up with some of this, and it's not an easy task. But you know, the both Padre Pio had great faith, and also the Smurl family were devout Christians, and they were really close to the church. And I think they used the church, their connection to the church, helped them get through these really hard times.
So I wanted to ask, I'm trying to ask these questions, but also not give away too much of your book. I want people to read it too, you know. But
the book does have a happy ending, so that's
it does. I'm trying to not give away too much of it. But one of my questions was with Clara and Phil Dandy with the haunted Hinsdale house. Why do you think that? Because I know you wrote in your book that a lot of their neighbors and a lot of the people around them just outright did not believe their claims at all, was referring to them as kooks and
they said
whatnot. Do you think that was like a geographical reason why they were so disbelieved compared to other hauntings in other places?
You know, the public can be cruel. You know, when there's anybody that's different, you know, I mean, you know, with the Dandies, they accused them of being devil worshippers and all that. But I don't know about if they were. I know that the public was really nasty. They castigated them. You know, they really put them down. But the other thing that's even more important was that when Father Alphonsus Treble, the hero of the Smurl haunting, when he went there to that home, the Hinsdale home, he was not able to go and cleanse the house. He told the people there, just leave. He said, some ground is just pure evil. It's a gateway to hell. Just leave, take your belongings, don't tell anybody where you're going, and just go. And even though he was able to go and cleanse the Smurl house later, it took him 4 times, Father Treble, but he was not able to do that at the Hinsdale house. So there was something happening there that was really troubling, really problematic. And the thing that's of interest, you know, this house is in western Pennsylvania. It's like south of Buffalo. And but the guy that owns it now, you could stay there. It's like a bed and breakfast. You could spend the night there, you know, for a certain amount of money. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking that that's something that I certainly wouldn't do. I think that's just, you know, that's just like toying with the gods, you know. I mean, come on, you know, just I don't know. I don't think I'd do that. So, but I know people do, and you know, that's fine. But there was a lot going on at that Hinsdale house, and I talk about it in my book because that was the failure of Father Treble, just like Smurl house was the failure of Father McKenna. Yeah, mm-hmm. He tried to do it 3 times and couldn't. So, you know, for whatever reason, I don't know why Father Treble was able to get the job done and McKenna wasn't, or why Ed Warren wasn't able to do it. You know, I don't know. But, you know, maybe I don't know. Maybe Father Treble's strength, maybe the energy he got from God, from Christ, was stronger. I don't know. I mean, that's what I would be my guess, but not with the Hinsdale house. And that was one house. Just leave it alone, walk away. maybe nuke it or something, I don't know, burn it down, do something, I don't know. But there's places like that, that just, they're evil. It's bad ground. And it could be that maybe it was an ancient Indian burial ground. Maybe there was, paganism. Maybe there was human sacrifices. Maybe there was something unclean that happened there. That's why that is. I mean, that's probably the only reason. I mean, why would one space be so demonic and not another one? So I don't know. And maybe that's what made the neighbors so angry and so crazy. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Something
Maybe
going on there.
Kind of a extended demonic influence over the neighbors to make them turn on them instead of support them.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it that way.
Neither.
Well, we believe that demonic energies can infest people, places, or things. Certainly, like the Annabelle doll, places like the Smurl house, Amityville, and people. And so that's just the way it works, if you believe this thing. The other thing too, that when I saw Annabelle this summer, and they all claim that the power of the devil is great, but the power of God is greater, and that seems to be the rule of thumb. So,
yeah.
Oh, well, since you just mentioned Annabelle, I actually had a question about that as well. Like, whenever you went and seen her in July of 2025, did you have anything personal, like strange happen to you, or did you see anything?
Yeah, I had something really like super personal, strange happen to me. I went to see Annabelle on Friday, July the 11th of this year. I met Dan Rivera. Dan was the chief handler for Annabelle. Dan was a Methodist guy that converted to Catholicism. And he was talking about his faith. He was talking about God, the power of God, all this stuff. I mean, all this guys. Annabelle was in a cage, like a 5-foot cage, with the Lord's Prayer tacked to the back. There was a glass window there from a church that you could see Annabelle, the doll. Holy water and holy oil was infused in the wood. There were 3 crosses, for the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And then inside, and let me just step away for a second. Inside was this, a Raggedy Ann doll.
Oh,
and that's
wow.
what it looked like. Now, my wife's always messing with me for having this doll, but it's just. But anyway, this is what was there. So I met Dan Rivera on the 11th, July the 11th. We agreed to do an interview on Monday the 14th for the Smurl haunting. Dan died the night before. I was one of the last paranormal researchers to meet Dan Rivera before his death. So they're saying that it was natural causes, that he had a cardiac condition. People like Chris McKenna, that's Ed and Lorraine's grandson. People like the Psychic Vincent sisters claim that it was the demonic energies from Annabelle that caused his death. When I was interviewed by Margot Wilson with the Citrus Chronicle down here in the Gulf Coast, Florida, she said, "You think that Annabelle killed Dan to prevent me from interviewing him?" And just like your thing about the Wells house, you figured that one out. I never thought of that. I mean, man, I hope so. I mean, I don't think that that's what happened, but I guess that's a possibility. But I mean, I hope not. I just happened to be there with, and here's some numbers you might want to just think about or write down. I was there with 1,460 other people, each paying $40 a head. That was something like $50,000 in Gettysburg for the 11th, 12th, and 13th. So $50K in Gettysburg, not counting how much Annabelle made in New Orleans, San Antonio, and West Virginia. So 4 places. That's around $200,000, give or take. Give or take. So that's why the New England Organization for Psychic Research, why they took Annabelle on the road for the Devils on the Run tour. It was to make money, and they're still making money. Lorraine Warren wanted Annabelle to stay at the Warren's Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. She wanted it to stay there, to be kept under lock and key, and to be kept safe. So and they're still taking Annabelle on the road, and I just think that this is just very irresponsible, and but again, they're doing it to make money. They're leasing. I believe they leased all of those artifacts, including Annabelle, to Matt Rife, the comedian.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't own it, but he's leasing it. So he kind of owns it right now. So, so I don't know how much. I mean, what do you think about that? Is that a good thing or a not so good thing?
Does he know anything about any of the objects that's there?
That's a great question. I don't know. I'm going
to be honest. I follow Matt Rife.
Yeah.
I like him as a comedian.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say anything negative about that aspect of it. Yeah. However, I don't think that was a very smart move on his part. And I think that there may be some future happenings in his life that he doesn't expect to happen. I know, unfortunately, if I follow him correctly, unfortunately, he did just lose his grandfather, I think. Okay. And so I don't want to say anything that implies anything that there's going to be any kind of negative energy in his life right now, because he is going through a sensitive time personally. But I think that somebody who takes on such a heavy responsibility should understand the burden before taking that on.
Well stated. Yeah, I agree. And it's not just Matt, it's also the people with the New England Society for Psychic Research. I mean, they're the ones who own these artifacts. They're the ones who are doing this. And again, working a deal to make money. It's all about monetary thing. It's not about safety. It's not, so, but, we'll see what happens. I hope nothing happens. And, but yeah, I tried to get in touch with him. I contacted the Chamber of Commerce up there in Monroe, Connecticut, and I wasn't able to go and get his contact information. So I'm going to still keep on trying.
You're talking about Matt Rife?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
To contact him. Yeah, I'd like to talk to him.
Maybe you'll be able to get his information. And
I'd love to do an interview with him. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we are wrapping around the end of our time here on the interview. But I think Fallon had another question for you.
Oh gosh.
Before we wrap that up.
Okay, so on the Smurl haunting, whenever I was reading it, why do you think other people that visited their home didn't see anything, didn't feel anything, it only happens, with Ed and Lorraine? I know that they did. And then of course the Smurls, but anybody else that was in there, they didn't really.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe these demonic forces play games. It makes sense. Like if, you claim that your house is possessed and then the priest comes over there and spends the night, you're going to be quiet and just, let him think that the Smurls are crazy, that they're mentally ill, that they're making this up. So that could add to it. That's one thing. But some of the people there, certainly Jack and Janet Jack's parents, who lived on the other side of that duplex, they heard things and experienced things. Neighbors claimed that they heard things. The one neighbor called, I forget what that was. They called the house by mistake and a little girl answered. I mean, something really bizarre and weird, but I think that some people did experience that, but and then after they left, after that house was cleansed, nothing happened, but again, this isn't science. This isn't like, an exact science. This is a lot of conjecture. This is all things outside the realm of science. So we think we maybe have an idea for how demonic energy works and how people get possessed. But, again, these are just, this guesswork, based on, the exploits, of exorcists and people that went through it. So, I don't know, but it's, there's just a whole lot of, it's like you said earlier, we follow cases like this because we're just caught up in the it's so fantastic, and there's a little bit of Indiana Jones in all of us. We want to find that holy grail. We want to climb the mountain. I mean, we all do. It's just that it's that childlike energy and curiosity that we all have, and may you have it forever, Casey and Fallon. May you have that curiosity, that spirit of adventure your whole life, because that's the fountain of youth. Just trying to find out more and more and more and more. So, and how fortunate are you to have this podcast where you meet all kinds of people? Some of them, maybe not all of us, but some of them interesting, and I mean, just to fill your head with all kinds of different things. I mean, you're in such a good position. So, I mean, you feel some gratitude for that, I mean, that's a pretty awesome thing.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Well, we definitely appreciate your time, and we definitely appreciate you coming on and talking about your book, which you'll get, The Smurl Haunting.
Yes, when Ed and Lorraine came to town on Anxiety Press, and I would say to your listeners, if they do happen to get a copy of the Smurl Haunting, to please leave a review on Amazon. It's the best thing you can do for us authors. And what happens is that Amazon just looks at us in a different lens, the more of these reviews we get. So it just, we need that. I mean, it just shows that people are reading, and it doesn't matter if it's a good, I mean, we like the positive reviews, but even if it's not so positive, it's still a review. It means that people read it, and that counts. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we already left ours, and hopefully you'll get lots of people to go run out and buy this book, and they will leave theirs. And I know you've already got a lot of people who have bought this book, and you've got a lot of great reviews on it already. I didn't read not a single bad one. So hopefully everybody goes out and buys the book.
While we're talking about books, so what was that one that you were talking about at the beginning?
That is Paranormal Apocalypse.
So the one that we're promoting now is the Paranormal Apocalypse. This is how it ends. And if you take a look at that was my concept of a gray dressed as a Grim Reaper. And you see that with the sigh and with the hourglass and the skulls. So this is how it ends. So I take a look at Revelations and the seven seals and the four horsemen to take a look at what's the apocalypse look like, and I talk about that and look at fear, so I think it's a really good read, and we're getting some excitement. Excitement's building for this one, so perhaps we can do a talk about the Paranormal Apocalypse.
We would love to. Absolutely. It's we're gonna put it in our shopping cart tonight.
Okay. Okay.
And if you want to get any more of his books or anything else that he's written, he's done numerous rock biographies and paranormal themes books. And some of those titles include, as we've talked about today, The Smurl Haunting, When Ed and Lorraine Came to Town. As we just talked about right now, Paranormal Apocalypse, Is This How It Ends, which he is promoting right now. So please go and get that one as well. There's also Cole Region Hoodoo, Paranormal Tales from Inside the Pit. Yes. There's The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, which we've already interviewed on and discussed. Great book. There's The Shepton, The Myth, Miracle, and Music, which we talked about in this one as well. which hopefully we will do an interview on in the future. And then there is Flying Saucer Esoteric, the altered state of, I wasn't sure if you say this, ufology.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I was like, is it UFOlogy or?
I should have given that book a different title. It's just like too abstract, but yeah. But
That's our writings.
yeah, and then for your listeners, my website is www.maximfurek.com. So they could go and check me out there. And there's a way to contact me if they would want a signed copy of the book. So anyway, that would be great. So thank you so much and continued success. And hopefully we can do this again in the near future.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming on. We greatly appreciate it.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you, Casey and Fallon. I really appreciate it. Okay. You guys did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye now.